Hi everyone, I'm Vickie Perlman, one of the silver instructors here at William Holland, and today I'm going to do a short demo of what my hydraulic press class is about. If you're an individual that makes a lot of the same shapes or cutouts, this is going to save you a lot of time because you're going to learn how to make your own blanking dies and matrix dies. First off, in the class, your special tools, you need a rotational bench pin. And there are two that I'm aware of on the market. One of them is made by Chris Darway, and it's a wood block. One side is flat and one side is angled. This you can either permanently mount to your bench pin or bench top, or you can use a C-clamp to hold it down. It's around $95. A very nice option if you're not sure if you're going to like this or not. And this release allows you to move the table, which it's kind of difficult to do when you're not attached. But that's one bench pin. The other one is designed by Jane Redmond. You can get this at Rio. Very sturdy. The one I have has the GRS Benchmade attachment. This is the aluminum plate. It's flat. And I have an accessory that allows me to change what I want to use. So I'm going to put this on here. And this right now is set flat, and it's set for 0 degrees. Level, even. The three processes that we're going to learn in class are embossing, which is kind of a quick way to do repoussé in some ways. But this is a plexiglass that I have just taken some carving burrs and carved a design into. And I can use the press and press the metal into it, and you get a raised design, or it can be recessed depending on which side that you want to use. It's kind of cool. The other thing on the embossing is you can take wires and use packing tape so that they're permanently in a shape. And again, you use the press and you can get really neat designs. Now, the other thing you can do with this, and I may show this to you as a demo, is now that I have it raised, I can put it back in the press it down, and you get a whole new look of what you've come up with here. And then the third embossing is actually soldering pieces together. This is just wire, brass wire, and you can use very thin, this is 28 or 30 gauge sheet, to emboss your design, and then you can trim this away and solder it to something else. So that's the embossing. The next one I talk about in class is your matrix dies. These are really cool. It gives you a puffed look. This is where I used a heart shape. This is a piece that's not finished, but this is work in progress of some of the things you can do with the matrix dies. If you use these a lot, I recommend putting a piece of metal on the back side, and that will reinforce this so it won't crack on you. Okay, then the final one, and probably the more difficult one in the class, is the blanking die. And the blanking die actually cuts things. And this is a blanking die, and it just cuts the heart. Now, I'm showing you one that's puffed, and I am going to do a demo to show you how you can maintain the puff and cut it. So, just very quickly, this is tool steel. And once you've drawn your design on here, you need to drill pilot holes for your saw blade. This part of your die is called a hinge or a fulcrum, and that allows this to move up and down. you put your metal in here and then in the press, and it cuts it. Now the reason there are 4 drill holes is from point A to B, you're going to be sawing it flat, just like this. I'm going to do just a little bit of the sawing. This does not go fast, so you just don't worry about it. You take your time, and I wax the metal and the saw blade. So I have to feed this through, and I have started this one, so okay. Okay, put a little. Okay, so let me see if I can get this restarted without breaking the blade. So basically, and you can tell by the noise, you need to maintain straight up and down while you're sawing this. Now this portion isn't as critical as the actual cutting part of the blanking die. So let me see, I'm not sure how long it would take you to saw today. Yeah, boring. Okay, so that's your straight part for your hinge. Then, I don't have my other tools here. There. Okay, so once you've sawn all the way up to this second dot, then we need to angle the bench pin. This is a protractor, it's magnetic, so if you're using Jane's, it'll stay there. If you're using Chris's, you just gotta use your hand and hold both pieces. So you're not going to be able, well, I don't think I can do this backwards, but I'll turn it around after I've adjusted it. So there's a screw that you loosen, and you can see my bench pin is tilting. Now I'm right-handed, so I'm tilting it this way. If you're left-handed, you just tilt it that way. So, so if you are left-handed, this will not be a difficult thing to you, having to work in a right-handed world. Okay, so you can see my little angle here has moved. So that's why I have a little red arrow. That way I know that's where I want to be set each time. But once you adjust this, you don't have to worry about it moving on you because it's pretty sturdy. So then the next portion, let me get you're going to cut the cutting part of the die. Now, Potter's dies are straight the whole way. So what I have found is you have to use a certain gauge of metal or it will stick. Whereas cutting it with an angle like this, you are limited by the thickness of this metal. So if this is equivalent to 24 gauge, then you can cut 24 up to 24 gauge with this. Which kind of makes it nice because, as I say, if your cutting edge isn't correct, then you've got to use 18 gauge is what I find. Okay, so I'm going to go into the hole to get it started on the cutting part. So now, So the most difficult part of this is maintaining your saw going up and down this way. And what people tend to do is they tend to start going this way to follow the angle of the bench pin. And if you do that, your die is not going to cut properly. So let me get it started here. Okay, so this is why this is not, I don't expect anybody to be Speedy Gonzalez doing this in class, because it is critical that you maintain this sawing straight up and down with your saw. Oh, it came unattached. But anyway, I just want to emphasize that. So now we're going to go over to the bench, with the hydraulic press, and I'll demonstrate what you'll be able to do with the stuff you're going to make in the class. And you'll be able to make jewelry afterwards also. But this class is about making the dies for you to make your jewelry. And I have lots of people come up with really cool things during the course of the week. So, okay. And there it is. All right. So, this is a hydraulic press that's in the back of the book by Susan Kingsley. And she talks about making your own matrix and blanking dies in here also. Very good information. I have to admit, I had gotten this book, and it took me 2 classes from 2 different individuals to finally get that light bulb to come on, that aha moment. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is puff. And I always label things, because you can get over here and you get so anxious about making your stuff you forget which side you want. So I have actually written on this one, use this size to press. And that's for my and my students' reminders. So I may need I need a little bigger piece. All right. So you want to make sure that your metal extends about 1/4 inch past your opening edges, because when this puffs, it pulls the metal in, and you don't want it to pull in enough that it distorts your design. Now, what I have here today is just cut up mouse pad. You can buy the urethane pads from Rio, but I find that these work just as well for a lot of the stuff that I do, and it's less expensive. All right, so I'm going to put this guy in here. And these are just spacers to take up room, so I don't have to jack the press up so much. There. All right, and here we go. Now you can buy the Bonnie Doon presses. You can get them with a gauge on it so that you know how many pounds you're pressing. I've gotten to where I can do pretty well in guessing by how difficult it is for me to work the jack. And this poor jack always moans. And let's see. Yep, it moved on me. Okay, well, here's an example of what happens if you don't have enough edge around your metal. But no worries. I'm just going to flatten this out. I did this on purpose. And it gives you arm strength. So now this is kind of cool because it's given you, this is what I was talking about you can do with the embossing, where it looks completely different. So I like that. So let me see if I can work this somehow so that some of that is still in there. Do you have any tape? Bear with me 1 second. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just got a piece of Scotch tape so that hopefully my metal won't move on me when I put the spacer in. And let's see what we get this time around. Okay. Yeah. So you can see the mouse pad material compress, and you're thinking, well, that's not really doing anything, but it's pushing that metal down into that void of the matrix die. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know my own strength. Well, I've it actually blew out, but that's something that you can work into your design also. That's the cool thing. You might come up with what you would consider a boo-boo, but you can always work it into something that you're doing. And in class, I will have samples of pieces of jewelry that I've made where I've actually incorporated that into the design. So I don't know my own strength this morning. Okay, so this is the blanking die. And in this situation, I've permanently attached a matrix die to it because of 2 reasons. I don't want to have to bother with aligning them up when I use the combination. So this saves time for me in the long run. So I'm going to align the puffed part, and this protects your metal from being flattened when it's cut. Okay, now we do not need any mouse pads or urethane in this case. And there we go. Okay, now a lot of times when you're doing the cutting portion, you'll get a loud bang, so we'll be prepared. There it is. That one's not too bad. And once you've heard that bang, you don't need to try and press the jack anymore. It's done its job. And there you are. There's the cutout heart. So, as I say, if you do a lot of the same shape over and over, this will save you a lot of time. Now, the other thing that you can do that I don't have a sample of is, for example, you could have a shape as simple as this for your matrix portion, and then you could make this guy look like a turtle. So when you're cut out, you could extend for his head and 2 little legs and a tail, which I had a student do a few years ago. So she made a lot of turtles, so she would puff what equaled the shell, and then when she cut it out, it was the whole body of the turtle, so she didn't have to hand saw the head and the legs and the tail out. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with all of this combination matrix and blanking dies. This is a bead that I did. It has 2 equal puffed sides. I've made a necklace out of this design, and what I did was I puffed the front, but I just left the back flat, so it's still hollow form, but it's only puffed on one side. My necklace that I'm wearing today, this is from a matrix die. And you can see it's got just a shallow puff. And then in class, you get a bonus surprise that I'm not going to tell you my secret today, but we make these scrunchy bracelets. This is the one, my favorite one. And then these are a couple other samples with, one is copper. So that basically comprises this hydraulic press class. Yes, we do make jewelry, but the primary reason for it is to learn how to make your own dies and save you time. Thank you for watching.